You asked for this shit, you got it, goddammit. Fucking Marath deck tech. Don't come up in the comments asking like, how is this better than Blue Farm? Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. It's a different deck. It does completely different things. It's not Blue Farm. Machine gun the table down like glak, glak, glak. If you like creature-based combos, this is the deck for you. You're just gonna win. They can't stop you. And this deck preys upon people who just play non-creature counter spells and non-creature removal and bounce spells. Like, people aren't going to be able to stop this deck. And that's why people think it's good. But if you adjust your game plan to counteract this deck and like maybe run a couple board wipes or like run like some like permanent removal, not like permanent as in like a card, like a permanent, like a creature or anything like that. Like, I mean like it's gone and it's not coming back. If you're running shit that completely deletes the creature or any permanents at all, then this deck is gonna suck. But people don't do that because they're trying to cope, because they're trying to live up to Blue Farm. Also, don't ask me how it's better than Blue Farm. Don't ask me how this compares to any other blue deck. Stop asking questions. No, I'm just kidding. You can ask as many questions as you want.
Naya Zoo. Y'all asked for this for like quite a while, and I've been avoiding y'all. I'm not gonna lie, I've been ducking y'all a little bit.
God, what the fuck is that?
So I'll go over Marath really quick. Marath Will of the Wild. Marath Will of the Wild enters the battlefield with a number of 1/1 counters on it equal to the amount of mana spent to cast it. You can pay X, remove X +1/+1 counters from Marath to choose one. X can't be 0. So it says put X +1/+1 counters on target creature. So you can remove a counter, maybe put it on like one of your like Elvish Mystics or something like that. I don't know why you would do that, but you can do that. You can actually remove a counter from Marath, put it back onto Marath if that's what you want to do. I know there's like some combos in like the Holy Trinity where if you like remove counters, the counters get doubled. So like things like Hardened Scales, if you take one off, put one onto it, then it'll double the counter, so it'll grow incrementally. And then Marath deals X damage to any target. So you can remove a counter, ping something from one. So if you pay one, take one off, ping something for one. But it does enter with 3 1/1 counters on it. If you cast it for 3 the first time, it'll come in with 3 1/1 counters. Say if you kill it off, use all the counters, then again you're gonna pay 5, which is 2 plus the commander tax. If you pay 5, it'll come in with 5 1/1 counters on it. So it gets bigger and bigger every time you cast it from the command zone. Also, this is something interesting that came up in one of my games. I was playing a stacks game versus somebody, and they had a Sphere of Resistance, which makes all your spells cost 1 more. Marath actually costs 4, so it came in with 4 1/1 counters on it. Well, you can also create XX green elemental creature tokens. Usually this is something you just don't use, but we'll get to it later. Like, making a bunch of 1/1s is actually pretty good. So we got Allison Shepherd. Allison Shepherd is a really good card. There's a lot of green spells in here. What the deck's trying to do is just trying to make infinite mana as quickly as possible, or efficiently as possible, or as risky as possible. Like Finale of Devastation, you're generally looking for a Darkside Exertionist, and that Darkside Exertionist can be found with that. It can be found with Eldritch Evolution. It can be found with Ecological Appreciation. This card is it's really unique because I was thinking about playing Weird Harvest, which is like OG Animar tech, because the combo is, let's see, all creature-based combo. So you can get Darkside Exertionist. So you're gonna get that. Everybody knows what Darkside Exertionist does, but like, you never know. You're gonna get that, and then you're gonna search for Emil the Blessed, and then it has the ability of 3, exile another target creature you control, return to the battlefield under its owner's control. So what you're going to do is pay 3 in the Emil. You're going to target Darkside Exertionist. Darkside Exertionist is going to enter. So what you're going to have to do is make sure that Darkside makes more than 3 artifacts. which then you can start banking artifacts. You're going to end up with a net positive. So if you pay 3, so say you make 4 treasures, you use 3 of them to blink it with Emule. Darkside will re-enter. You're going to have 4 treasures in total. And if you spend 3 again, you're going to have 2 treasures in total, and so forth and so forth. And then you're going to use all that mana to put it right back into Marath. Marath deals X damage to any target. So you're going to make infinite mana. You're going to remove counters. You're going to ping your opponents. And then you're going to put Marath back into the command zone. She'll come back in with like 5 counters. You're going to do it again. You're going to do it again for 7. And everybody's going to take 7. and then you're going to keep doing that over and over again until they're dead. So you're just going to machine gun down the table. And that's the main combo here. You also have other ways to make infinite mana here. So you have Auriok Salvagers for 1 and a white. Return target artifact card with converted mana cost 1 or less when you give it to your hand. That works in conjunction with Lion's Eye Diamond, which is very risky for most people, but you're playing a bunch of like Grand Abolisher effects, which help you out. So you have sacrifice Lion's Eye Diamond, discard your hand, add 3 mana of any one color to your mana pool, play this ability as a mana source. So you're going to sacrifice Lion's Eye Diamond for triple white. You're going to float 1 white. And then you're going to go right back to Auriok Salvagers. And then you're going to pay 1 and a white to return target artifact card with converted mana cost 1 or less when you give it to your hand. You're going to cast it. You're going to make some more white. And then you're going to make more white. And you're going to make as much white as you can. And then you're going to use all that white mana to make red. And then you're going to make green. And then you're going to make a Marath. And you're going to make a big damage. You're going to make a lot of damage. There's also more ways to make infinite damage, and that's in the way of Dualcaster Mage. You can make infinite attackers in conjunction with Twin Flame. So you can Twin Flame, you choose any target creature, you target a creature, and then you hold priority and respond with Dualcaster Mage. And then once Dualcaster Mage enters the battlefield, you can make a copy of Twin Flame, which then makes a copy of Dualcaster Mage. And Twin Flame specifically says choose any number of target creatures you control. For each of them, put a token that's a copy of that creature onto the battlefield. This is the key part. Those tokens have haste. Exile them at the beginning of the end step. So every time your Dualcaster enters, it's going to make a copy of itself, which has haste. And every time a Dualcaster enters, you're going to make another one that has haste. And the way that you end the combo is when it enters the battlefield, copy target instant sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Specific keyword, it says may. You don't have to choose any. You can choose not to copy anything. And also, you could just choose the original target. So say if you had a Tranth Magistrate out, you need to have a target for Twin Flame. You can just target one of your creatures. It'll come in as a copy of it at the end of the combo, and then boom, you can make infinite damage, infinite attackers, GG. There's also a secondary combo. It's like I would say it's like a supplementary combo with Twin Flame. So you have the Darkside Exertionist, of course. Actually, you're gonna need both of these. You're gonna need Darkside Exertionist, and you're gonna need Eternal Witness on the field, and you're gonna need to make 5 mana. So what you're going to do is cast Twin Flame for its Strive cost, which is 5. So it costs 2 and a red more to cast for each target beyond the first. So what you're going to do is target Darkside Exertionist, and you're going to use your Strive cost to target Eternal Witness. And now you're going to stack these triggers so that you make a copy of Darkside, which makes 5 treasures or more, which can also make infinite mana here. You're going to target the Eternal Witness. So when the ETBs resolve from these 2 creatures, Darkside and Eternal Witness is going to return the Twin Flame back to your hand. And Darkside is going to make the treasures. And after the treasures are made, you're going to cast Twin Flame for its strive cost, or you're going to make another copy of Darkside and Eternal Witness. So even if this combo nets even, you're going to have an infinite amount of Darksides and Eternal Witnesses to attack with, which are all going to be hasty, or you can make infinite mana this way. There's Deafening Silence in here, you know, to stop like turbo decks. Deafening Silence here just to stop turbo decks. You know, this is a very creature-based deck. Lots of creature-based combos. Not a lot can shut you down here. You really strive in the mid-game. The only thing that I would say doesn't work super well is probably Sanctum Prelate. You can't do the Twin Flame combo. Sanctum Prelate is out because usually the most common number you want to name is 2. Like if you're not aiming 2 to like get around like Cyclonic Rift or like Tainted Pact or like Demonic Tutor, Underworld Breach. Underworld Breach is like a common 2-drop. Brain Freeze, common 2-drop. Even if they cast a Venus Reclamation, they're probably not going to get the Brain Freeze off because of the Sanctum Prelate. And as for Sentinels here, you got all the best 1-drops in Naya that you could ever want. There's Wild Cantor here. Sometimes I might need a little extra mana. I might even Ranger Captain, search up Wild Cantor. It's basically a rock. It's a Lotus Petal, essentially. Archivist Dogma draws a ton of cards within a turn cycle. Cathar Commando. Not a lot of people can interact with this. People try to win with Breach on the stack. You can flash in your Cathar Commando, and it says 1, sacrifice Cathar Commando, destroy target artifact and enchantment. Grenzo Havoc Rager. The thing about this deck, it doesn't really have that much. It doesn't have that much card advantage. So you'll play Grenzo, and you're going to be having a bunch of creatures. There's 32 creatures in this deck. And the thing about Marath, the create XX green elemental creature tokens, you can just pay 1 and make a bunch of 1/1s. So you can play Marath once, take a 1/1 counter off, make them 1/1, do it again, Marath dies, then you have 3 little 1/1s. You just spread it out. You just spread out Marath. So you could go wide with Grenzo, and Grenzo says whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, choose 1. Go target creature that players controls, exile the top card of that player's library until the end of turn. You may cast that card, and you may spend mana as though it were any mana of any color to cast it. When you play Grenzo and you have a board state and you have a board full of creatures, what you want to do is swing all of your creatures at one person. So now you can play their deck. Unless, like, you know, there's unfavorable blocks or something like that, and, you know, somebody Imperial Sealed, you can, you know, you're pretty much getting a Ragavan for each creature that you have, which is kind of insane. And, you know, it's 2 red mana. It's insanely cheap to cast. You know, you can swing with Adversary's Program, and then, like, you know, you're doing 1 damage, they exile the top card of the library, oops, you gotta Ad Nauseam. What are they gonna do about it? Cast it? Absolutely not. It's just gone forever.
Bro's a menace to society. Bro, you're a menace.
We got Winota here. This is really insane, because everybody asks me, like, hey, what's the ratio? Like, how many humans are you running? How many, you know, how many non-humans are you running? To be honest, dude, I haven't done the math on that. I just noticed that there were a lot of humans in this deck. And I realized, hey, Marath makes 1/1s. It makes XX green elemental creatures. And there's also a bunch of, like, non-humans in the deck. Auriok Salvagers, which is the biggest hit you can hit off of that. And if you just have LED in play, you just win here. So that's really cool. I think I'm going to actually make a ad for Myrel, Shield of Argive. Alright, so we have to figure out what to cut here. And don't forget, we gotta make that foil, you feel me?
Word around town is you have too many bitches. Do you have a license for that?
Oh, my too many bitches license?
Yeah, that one. Show it to me.
Yeah, sir, I got that right here.
Alright, so what's the worst card in the deck? So Venus Reclamation works. It doesn't work that well. Doesn't work as well as Sarah Paragon. It's not as easy to find. So maybe it might be... Yeah, I think it might be Venus Reclamation, because you can't tutor for it. just to get a Myrel in here, because the cool thing is I'm running I'm running Aldous Evolution, and I'm also running Birthing Pod. Birthing Pod isn't actually a win condition in the deck, and people get surprised all the time. They're like, what? Why aren't you winning with the Birthing Pod? You just sacrificed a creature. You should just be winning right here on the spot. And I'm like, no, dude. Like, the whole line with like Kiki Jiki and, you know, Kiki Jiki, Karmic Guide, Felidar Guardian, those cards are individually dead in this deck. And I want you to feel like you can participate in the game no matter what kind of cards you draw. I want something to work for you every single time you draw a card. So say you just drew like Allison Shepherd. There's already a bunch of like elves in the deck. There's elf here, elf here, elf here. There's a bunch of green creatures in the deck. There's a bunch of green spells in the deck actually. That's gonna work. There's never not a time you don't need more mana, so all the dorks do something. As for Sentinel, it's going to draw you cards. Ragavan, it's going to give you advantage, it's going to ramp you. Recruitment Officer, it's going to give you more advantage. Wild Cantor gives you mana. Archivist of Aqua draws you cards, gives you mana, destroys an artifact or enchantment, wins you the game, or makes you mana. Besides winning the game, this card makes you mana. Dranith, shut your opponents off. Goblin Engineer, a tutor. Grand Abolisher. Technically a win condition, but it's protection. Card advantage for Grenzo. Dualcaster Mage. This also doubles as card advantage, because you can just cast this and maybe copy a spell. You're also not a very parasitic deck anymore, because you can copy somebody's counter spell if somebody's trying to win, and then you probably helped out here. You just dual cast or Mage your ad nauseum, go until you hit silence, and then cast silence on top of their ad nauseum, and now their ad nauseum sucks. And they have to decide how deep they want to go. This is mana. This endurance is for interaction for Underworld Breach lines. It works against DOS Oracle, because you can endurance in response to the trigger after they've exiled their library, and have them shuffle the graveyard back in, and now their devotion to 5 when it should be 0. Eternal Witness gives cards back from the graveyard. Imperial Recruit is a tutor. This is ramp and advantage. There's just so many cards in this deck that have functions outside of being a combo piece. Yeah, like Emil, there's a ton of ETB effects in this deck. Like I said, Emil, even on its own, works as a good card in this deck, because you have the Sanctum Prelate. You can reset your Sanctum Prelate. Recruiter of the Guard. You can tutor again. You can search for another creature. Imperial Recruit. You can search for a creature. You can return another creature back. This is also a combo here. Eternal Witness with Emil. I have this outlined in the primer. I don't think I should go over all of the combos here, but this works with a combo with Emil the Bless, Eternal Witness, and Jessica's Will, which makes you infinite red and pulls all the cards off the top of your library. Orm's Chant, this is your interaction. If you see somebody's trying to win here, you might want to cast the Orm's Chant on them. And they put a Mnemonic Betrayal in the stack. Orm's Chant is a really good counter to that. Red Elemental Blast, counter spell, silence, same deal. Also protects your turn. Also, back on the topic of Orm's Chant, if they have a Ristic Study and you want to, cast, if you want to cast, like, say, like LED, you want to do the Bomberman combo, LED with Auriok Salvagers, you can just target them with this, and then they can draw as many cards as they want, and they're just going to be silenced until you just close out the game. So it's Plowshares, really, really good removal. So like I said before, if Marath, you can't just get them out, you can just exile the Durant Magistrate, and then you can take care of the rest of the board. Really Tutor, of course, creature deck, you want it. Elder Omni's Call, same deal. Final Fortune, this was added about 3 months ago. This is a pretty quick deck. Sometimes you just need an extra turn. Sometimes you just need to untap, upkeep, draw, and play a land, and then you can just get there. Heliod's Intervention, usually end up with quite a bit of mana if you're not just trying to win. It clears a bunch of stacks pieces off the board. Your worst enemy here is Curse Totem, Manamorphose, Color Fixes. There's a lot of colored pips in this deck. Quarter Calling, another creature tutor. It's a creature-based deck. Deflecting Swat, amazing. Delayed Blast Fireball. I still think this is a really good card. Sometimes you just don't want any number of creatures on the deck. Well, you don't want a lot of creatures on the battlefield. You want to be able to swing. Also, to another point with this deck, you want to be swinging every combat. I know it might not seem like much if you have nothing else to do, swing. That's like your low-key way of closing out the game. Just swing. Like if you have a dork and somebody's open, just swing. This is the zoo. You're gonna take them to the zoo. Swing.
I'm about to start swinging on my mama. I'm about to start swinging.
But anyway, Delayed Blast Fireball is just to clear all the creatures out. One of your worst enemies is Opposition Agent, so you want to just clear it out. Collect the Company. This is a very, very it's pretty hot tech, I would say. You look at the top 6 cards of your library, put up to 2 creature cards with converting cost 3 or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest of them on the bottom of your library in any order. I've hit multiple creatures with this. It's usually pretty good. There's, like I said, there's like about 33 creatures in this deck, and about 4 or 5 of them are 4-drops. You're gonna hit something. If you don't, big L. Who cares? You'll be alright. It's not that bad. Shared Summons. This wins you the game on the spot. This is your ad nauseum here. You can just get Darkside, Emil. There's a lot of like A plus B combos with creatures in here. You can just pick them up and just win the game here. As far as artifacts goes, Curse Mirror. You can also loop Curse Mirror if you copy a creature. This is the only clone in the deck. Cloudstone Curio. This is part of one of the combos. Your Goblin Engineer can fetch this for you, and then you can cheat it back into play, and you can just win with your creatures this way. You can just play your Darkside Exertion, just make X amount of mana, and loop it with another creature, maybe like a Dork or something, and you can just go positive, kill the table with Marath. Birthing Pod. It's just a one-off creature tutor. If you need to get in there, just tutor up a creature. This is the way to do it. You're not winning with this card, you're just tutoring and putting creatures into play. Deafening Silence. It's a creature-based deck. You're gonna power through any type of, non-creature hate. Survival. I haven't really played this card that much, honestly. Even if I Enlighten Tutor for this card, I feel like it's too much of an investment to play. I've cut this card and put this card back in multiple times, and it just doesn't perform the way I want it to. You usually need like a shit ton of mana. So say if your Darkside makes like 8 or something, you can Survival of the Fittest, pitch another creature, go get your Emil, and see what happens there. Sylvan Library, usually you just want to take 8 off of this. It's a really strong card. Like, you don't really have that much advantage in this deck, and you just want to make sure you get all the advantage that you can. So taking 8 is pretty key. Drawing 3 is pretty key. You don't really care about your life total that much. You're not playing ad nauseum, unless it's in the form of shared summon, so just get in there. So let's talk about a few of the combos. As you see, I got Brooklyn Zoo here from Wu-Tang Clan, Old Dirty Bastard. I really wanted to put the PD Crack version of this onto the primer, but I can't find it. He's a Philly rapper. PD Crack is a Philly rapper, and he had a Brooklyn Zoo freestyle, which I really wanted on here. But if you like hip hop, take a listen to this. There's a lot of combos in this deck. There's a lot. I even took note of combos that I've tried before that you could actually play. Every single combo that you can pretty much do with this deck that I have found, I've made a note with it. I've made a note of all the interaction you can play. I made a note of all the creatures, all the creature combos that I played already. I even have Feldar Guardian in here, Emil, Gaia's Cradle. It's like, that's one of the first combos I started with this deck. Just Emil, Feldar Guardian, Gaia's Cradle. I since then cut it from the deck, but you know, I have everything that I've tried with this deck in this primer. And just because I'm not running it in the main list doesn't mean you can't run it yourself. And I mean that. Like, the point of this deck is that it's versatile and it pivots very easily so that you can make the game plan your own. I want you to be comfortable playing all the cards that you want to play. I just want you to understand that this deck is its only purpose is to be a predator.
Whoa, where'd that come from?
It's supposed to take over the game and make sure there's no other creatures on board that can compete with it. That's the main point of this deck, is to just take everything down. Anything that, you know, would disrupt you, even like an opposing Winota. If there's an opposing Winota on the board, you know, very popular deck, shout out to Comedian. The deck's insane. It's a very insane deck. It gets out of hand very quickly. And this deck is probably one of the answers you can play into Winota, because your commander directly has a way to negate everything that Winota's doing. It can remove any creature that comes on the board. You can pick and choose which creatures are going to affect you. So they drop like an Eidolon. Maybe you can take some turns off and you can ping the smaller stuff. Maybe you can hit the Ornithopters. Maybe you can hit the Gingerbrute. Make sure they don't get enough triggers. Make sure they at least get one in. Maybe leave all their 2-drops behind, and, you know, delayed blast Fireball when you have the opportunity. You could even, you know, Swords Winota over and over and over again. Like, this deck is probably the Winota killer.
What? Cap.